All right, you guys, this is going to be a double header, two videos in one day. I know, so exciting. This video is going to be a little bit more personal. I had a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend whose 16-year-old son committed suicide the day before the school year was going to begin. And I'm going to speculate, this is complete speculation, that the kid committed suicide because of possible bullying. Those bullying could be a result of maybe some type of sexual conflicts or some type of racial conflicts. The kid was biracial, black, white, or some type of class conflicts, you know. And so I really just kind of want to talk about how, you know, how we are possibly not preparing our kids for the evil that's out here. We're not preparing our kids for what's really out here. How we're letting Disney and we're letting a lot of this white supremacy give our kids a type of fantasy. And not only do we let the educational system and the system of racism and white supremacy give our kids some type of fantasy world, we also live in a fantasy world ourselves, in which we are complete Instagram, whores, Facebook whores. We want to live this perfect life. We want to, gloss, look nice, look pretty. So, and I think I think when we live a phony life, and when we live a fantasy life, and we give our kids a Disney fantasy life, we set them up for failure. We set them up for suicide at 16 years old. And so what are some of these tools that we need to kind of give our kids so that they can kind of be better equipped? We need to make sure that our kids have a clear understanding of class, meaning, what are some of the differences between, people who live in one neighborhood and people who live in a different neighborhood. You know, you know, you know. I got this from Antonio Moore, but it's LCSC, lineage, class, struggle, character. And so you need to make sure your kids kind of understand the difference between lineage and how lineage could be a reason why these people are in this neighborhood, or character. This person may be naturally 7 foot tall, so they may naturally, be a basketball player. So they may because of their character, they may naturally have more money, or they may be in a different neighborhood. So we need to make sure that our kids are equipped with class structure so that they don't grow up thinking that, oh, we're poor because of this, or we're poor because of that, or there's something inherently wrong with me because I cannot afford these shoes, or I cannot afford that. Our kids need to be completely aware of the fact that that the United States is a class system. You know, we are poor white trash, and we come from poor white trash generations, and having this whole idea of something else is a great idea to have, but that's not where we're at. That's not where we come from. And definitely want to make sure that you make sure your children try and give them all the tools necessary to succeed and go much further than you, but just kind of keep things in perspective, and make sure that your kids really understand class. I also I also think that our kids need to kind of really understand. They need to have an idea of race a little bit better, especially when we have these biracial kids. A lot of these kids, they grow up racially confused. They don't know if they want to be black hoteps, white preps. They don't know if they want to be Mexican mariachis. They don't really know they want to be gangster. They really don't know anything at all. And so when we have these kids in these biracial relationships, or even monoracial relationships, in which you still want to equip your kids with the understanding of race, and make sure that they understand who they are. And that kind of goes back into class a little bit. You know, don't have your kid, hating all black people because all they see are black people in the ghetto, or don't have your kid hating all white people because all they see is white people in trailer parks. you want to make sure that your kid has a clear understanding of race, and and that means a historical perspective, meaning they have to understand chattel slavery. They have to understand things like the recent immigration laws that changed during the 1960s that quadrupled and and increased the large number of immigrants in this country, so that there's a reason why you may have a Mexican mother, or there's a reason why you may have an African dad. And so even if your kids are black and they're African and African American, make sure that they understand the difference between those two. You don't have to have these conversations at no 10 or 11 years old, but make sure by the time they're 13, 14, 15, 16, they completely understand the differences in dynamics between you know who they are. They don't really have to understand race, everyone's race specifically, but make sure that they completely understand who they are when it comes down to race. And now, of course, I personally don't believe in race per se. I believe there's just one human race, and I believe there's a whole bunch of different ethnicities and different different types of people. But I think there's just one human race. But in a practical sense, in all practicality, as far as job applications or as far as census, we do have to live with race. I like to believe that I'm Native American, like Waka Flocka Flame, but when it comes down to it, on the pencil and paperwork, I'm a black man, and my applications say that, my social security says that. When I get locked up, it says that. I can tell them that I'm a Native American. I can give them a philosophical discussion about how my ancestors were stripped of their psychological land, and why their ancestors were Native Americans, but they're not. No one really cares about that on a practical sense. So you really want to make sure you equip your kids with the idea of race. So we've got class, we've got race. We want to get into one of the more tougher discussions, and that's sexuality. I do believe that this kid who killed himself, I do believe he was, like I said, he was struggling sexually. We want to make sure that we equipped our kids with the knowledge of sexuality, and we want to make sure that our kids do not get this knowledge from the LGBT agenda. We do not want our kids on YouTube. We do not want our kids on the internet looking for advice on sexuality, on how they're feeling, or anything like that. We want to make sure that we talk to our kids all the time about their sexuality, what they're feeling, how they're feeling, who they're feeling this for, letting them know that there's a complete difference between this whole LGBT agenda and the dynamic of male heterosexual behavior that may delve into the homosexual realm. There's complete differences between that, and that could be institutional homosexuality, in which you're in prison for 10 years, and because of that, you start doing things that are homosexual. So we want to make sure that we equip our kids so that they completely understand sexuality. We don't want pedophiles giving our kids knowledge of sexuality. We don't want their big brothers. We don't want their big sisters. We don't want anyone else giving their kids uh, um, um, a knowledge of sexuality. We want to make sure that we give our kids knowledge of sexuality, because when we let go, or when we let society, when we let YouTube, when we let internet take away, start controlling our kids' sexuality, then they start becoming transgenders, and then they start using all these different, homosexual phrases that they picked up on Real Housewives, or they picked up on all these different LGBT friendly shows. And so we want to make sure that if our kids are feeling sexually confused, we do not send them towards the LGBT agenda. We sit them down. We have a realistic conversation about sexuality and how they're feeling, because I think that I think that there are different philosophies regarding sexuality, homosexuality. There are different dynamics regarding sexuality and homosexuality, and when we're not equipping our kids with that knowledge, or when we're letting other people or other agendas control our kids, then then it may start leading to things like depression. It may start leading to things like suicidal thoughts. It may start leading down really dark roads. And so you know kids should not they should not feel shocked, or they should not feel ashamed to tell their parents they have any type of heterosexual desires, homosexual desires that lean towards that way. Their parents should have already had that type of conversation with them at a very early age. Their parents should be more active. Parents should be more active in their kids sexually. And I'm not talking about any type of pedophilia bullshit or anything like that. I'm just talking about they should not let the LGBT agenda control their child sexually, or they should not let these fuck niggas or these hoes out here, these thought hoes out there, control their kids sexually, so that their kids end up a sorry ass nigga with 10 kids in jail for child support, or end up some sorry ass baby mama. And so, we just have to kind of take a little bit better control of our kids when it comes down to sexuality. So let's see. I want to go into this whole censorship, and this whole safe space, and this whole wave that we're under, in which we're creating weaker individuals. Whenever you're creating a young black man who, as soon as someone calls him a nigger, he goes off the handles. We are creating a weak black man. Whenever you have a young man who's struggling with his homosexuality, and as soon as someone calls him a fag, he decides to kill himself. You created a weak individual. You know, whenever you whenever you have people who are pushing all of this censorship and all of this homophobia rhetoric, this whole anti-Semitism rhetoric, this whole racism rhetoric, we are creating weaker individuals. We've got to create individuals who are strong, who have thick skin, who can stand up when people call them fags, who call them anti-Semites, who call them stuff like that. You know, I mean, we have to not let this whole censorship. We have to not let this whole PC culture that we're in. We have to not let this whole wave that we're under, including the whole LGBT wave of everybody's a homophobe, or this whole racism wave. As soon as someone says a racist joke, you're offended. Everyone's a racist. We've got to calm all that stuff down. We've got to get into a world in which people are not considered racist for saying black jokes, saying Mexican jokes. People are not considered homophobe because they use the word faggot. People are not considered anti-Semite because they go around calling people kikes. Or even if they are considered that, we've got to just have people with much thicker skin. We have people who are falling apart at the very first whim. People who get so offended at the most inane shit. You get so offended at this white person calling you a nigga, but you say nigga all goddamn day long. Every single day you say nigga. All day long. All day long. But now you're so offended because it's a white person. All that stuff has got to stop. You stop saying nigga. You stop saying that word. And then, and then change will stop. Change will start. You know, we get mad at Roseanne for saying that Valerie Jarrett looks like a monkey because she's black. But whenever we stop reinforcing that whole dynamic of black and monkey, and whenever we say no, anybody who's of any color, of any shade, can be associated with being a monkey and not just black people, although historically we may have been, although other groups may have been historically as well, but historically black people have been. But whenever we disassociate that, then hopefully, you know, we won't be so offended whenever Roseanne says that Valerie Jarrett looks like a fucking Planet of the Apes monkey, or we won't be so offended whenever a white person compares a black person to a monkey or something like that. We can say, okay, well, you know, that motherfucker looks like a monkey, or that person does not like a monkey. That person looks like more like a dog. You know, I have to look like some type of animal. You guys tell me what animal I look like. And so I want to kind of make this a little bit shorter, and I want to you know uh, uh, um, I want to go on a quick tangent really fast, and I want to talk about authenticity really quickly. And the reason I'm waiting to the end of this video is because most of the people who watch my videos, they do not watch to the end, and I want to specifically put this at the end. And I want to go into authenticity. If I expect to have some type of authenticity with my audience, I have to be authentic with my audience. I cannot hide behind some type of pseudonym. I cannot hide behind some type of name. I cannot hide behind anything like that. So I will tell you guys my name and, you know, stuff like that, but I still respect that you guys please continue to call me the Nutty Professor, you know, Pref, whatever you want to call me. You know, I ask that you guys, you know, please respect that. But I want to make sure that I come across as genuine and I come across as authentic. So not only am I going to, you know, I'm going to give you guys my name and stuff like that, I'm also going to, you know, give you guys an extra little surprise at the very end of this video. So, I mean, you have to really watch the end of this video, which you guys won't. So, you know, the good thing about being such a small YouTuber is that I can hide little details like this at the very end of my videos and no one will ever find out. I'm Lamar Jones. I'm 34 years old. I live in Dallas, Texas. And that's it. You guys have a great day.